Good evening, Longpo. Good evening, Venerable Sir. My question is, I have two questions. The first one is, can one attain deep samadhi through walking or standing meditation? The second question is, I understand that in Thailand, the monks, perhaps the forest monks, they commonly practice all-night meditation, and a number of them attain jhanas through that way. I would like to hear Longpo's perspective on that. Thank you.
So the main qualities we're developing to bring up samadhi or complete the factor of samadhi as part of the Noble Eightfold Path. We need mindfulness, we need clear comprehension, we need effort. We also need some wisdom, some understanding what you're doing and how to deal with obstacles. And then you need repeated practice. In terms of entering the deepest states of samadhi, the body has to be still. If you're walking, you have to naturally divert various mental energy and attention to the act of walking, stepping one foot in front of another. A very ordinary task that we do all the time, but it still requires quite a lot of attention, otherwise you'll fall over, bump into something. If you are to enter jhana, you can't be walking because you would lose track of your body and you'd probably fall over. I was once walking meditation on a walking path at Lumpur Monastery where I used to live, and Lumpur Maha came to visit, and as you know, he's a great meditation master, and the walking path was raised above the ground maybe a metre or so. It's a good walking path, and it had a roof over it. It's like luxury 5-star walking path. But Lungta walked up and down on it and he said, there's something missing here. I said, what? He said, you need a handrail around this walking path because it's raised above the ground. And when you enter samadhi, you tend to have to stand still. If you're walking, your mind converges together. In a very deep way, your mind goes inwards. You stop moving. You're no longer aware of your body. You're no longer intending to walk. You just know in the mind itself. And you don't pay attention to sight, sound, taste, or touch, balance, all the sensations of the body. So even if you stop and stand still, there's a chance when you come out of that samadhi, your mind has gone in deep, very quiet, very still. Because you're standing, there's a chance you can wobble and fall over, very easy. So you need a handrail around this walking path. You have to remember this, the deepest stages of samadhi, you lose awareness of your body. So if you were walking, you just couldn't do it. You could stand, but even then there's a chance you'll fall over. So you need something to grab onto when you come out of samadhi. Or you can enter samadhi when you're sitting. Well, samadhi is something that there's stages of levels of samadhi, depths of samadhi. The Buddha didn't mention this so much, but in the commentaries we do, and Dhamma and all the teachers in the forest tradition following Dhamma tend to talk about the different levels of samadhi. So we have what we call Kanika samadhi, translated as momentary concentration, where your mind gathers together, unifies for a few moments. It could be just for 5 minutes. But there's this sense of the mind's energy, the mental energy gathering inwards. The mind merges with its object, such as the breath, and awareness of the body may disappear. The piti, the rapture, the sukha, the happiness, pervades the whole body, and the body becomes very light, or even seems to disappear. That may only be for a few moments. It's still an important step along the path, and you may experience Kanika Samadhi quite regularly, quite often. As you continue practicing, you become more skilled in dealing with the 5 hindrances, letting go of sense desire, ill will, sloth and torpor, restlessness, anxiety, and skeptical doubt. These are the 5 hindrances that keep plaguing the mind, coming up, interrupting our practice all the time. As you become more skilled, wiser, more effort in, you become more skilled at overcoming these hindrances, then you may experience Upajjhara Samadhi, where the mind converges into Samadhi for a longer period of time, maybe half an hour. And again, the feelings of the body, sensations of the body disappear. The mind is gathered on its object. It's not completely still. In Upajjhara Samadhi, you can still walk. That's quite common if you've been walking meditation for a long time. Your mind may settle down, let go of hindrances, and now your mind is just merging on its object, maybe the recitation of Buddha or the breath. You're still walking, so there's still some impingement from the senses. You're still feeling your feet touching the ground, seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling. So you can be in an Upajjhara Samadhi as you walk, or if you stand, or if you're sitting down. You can also contemplate, practice Vipassana meditation when you've attained Upajjhara Samadhi, because your mind is beyond the hindrances for a while. Piti and sukha have arisen, the mind is very light, one-pointed. Whatever thoughts come up into the mind don't really bother you, because the factors of Samadhi have arisen, but the mind is not completely one-pointed on its subject. So Lumpur gave the simile. He said, Upajjhara Samadhi is like a chicken in a chicken coop. Probably some of the farmhouses around here, they have chickens and they have a caged area where the chicken can walk around, but it's still within a cage. So it's safe from danger, but it also cannot go away and leave the farm. So it moves around within the cage. Upajjhara Samadhi is like that. The mind can move around. It can contemplate the body, for instance. 32 parts of the body, 4 elements. Or it can contemplate feeling. Pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling, neither pleasant nor unpleasant feeling. The 3 main kinds of feeling. And as I contemplate, what I mean is maintain mindfulness and observe feelings. That pleasant feeling arise and pass away. A painful feeling arise, pass away. A thought arise and pass away. A memory arise and pass away. Because the mindfulness is strong, the effort is being made in the practice, well, one can contemplate to see the impermanent nature of different aspects of the 5 khandhas, body and mind. without much danger. Like the chicken inside the cage, there's no danger, no predators, no dogs can rush in and kill it because of the cage. Upajjhara Samadhi is like that. You still have thoughts, and you can even have defilements arise in the mind, but you can see them for what they are. And you can walk. So you can walk up and down for hours and hours in Upajjhara Samadhi. You can sit in Upajjhara Samadhi, but you'll still be aware of your body. You'll still have thoughts arise passively. If you develop your ability with Samadhi further, you'll go to a place of one-pointedness on an object such as the breath, where the factors of Samadhi have arisen. Vitakka, vichara, piti, sukha, ekadita. The piti and sukha bathes the whole body, refreshes, revitalizes the whole body. So there's a great sense of detached awareness now from the body, detached from body, from feeling, from senses. And the mind just knows itself, and all the mental energy goes inwards to the mind and it just knows itself. And in that state one could sit for a long time, maybe many hours. If one was walking and experiencing Upajjhara Samadhi, then one would have to stop, stand still, as I mentioned earlier, and possibly enter jhana. Although it's not an easy thing, but it's possible. And then coming out of jhana, have a handrail ready, or something to grab onto. Because it's quite likely your body will fall over. And I've experienced this before, coming out of samadhi, you're just not aware of your body, so easily you can just kind of crumble or trip over. It's not because you're sleepy, it's because you're suddenly aware of the physical body, and the body needs to stand up. That takes effort. So of course, the longer we practice, the more hours of it, the better we'll get at it. We develop more patience and endurance to deal with the obstacles, the distractions, the physical pain. So some practitioners will practice overnight. I've done that more times than I can count in my life. I don't know, hundreds of times, maybe even thousands of times, certainly hundreds of times. Spend all night meditating, because it's a really good way to develop your practice. It's not an easy practice to stay up all night, but it's something Ajahn Chah did regularly, and he encouraged his Sangha, monks, nuns, laymen, laywomen to do, usually on the holy day, full moon day, new moon day, half moon day. Unfortunately, the next full moon day is Monday, when the retreat will be over, otherwise we'll leave you in an all-night meditation. I don't know if that's fortunate or unfortunate. Maybe some people are going, phew. That's how I felt when I first went to the monastery, and I was told on my third day in Ajahn Chah's monastery, they said, tonight is all-night meditation, nobody goes back to their kuti. And your knees shake and you start thinking, oh. I couldn't sit still all night. I can now, although now I have knee problems a bit harder as well. But when I started, I couldn't sit all night. I had to do walking meditation. So the first time I attempted all night meditation, I sat for about 1.5 hours, and then I walked for 7 hours non-stop. Because I couldn't sit anymore, my legs hurt too much. I really had a lot of pain in my early days. I wasn't a monk yet, I was a Nanagarika, white robe, shaven head. And I couldn't sit. I was just sitting on a concrete floor. There weren't nice mats and cushions like we have these days. And others also had to do the same, so I couldn't complain. Everyone had the same problem. But I could only sit for an hour and a half, and then that was it. too painful, so I just walked the whole night. I don't think I attained any kind of samadhi, but I certainly attained endurance, patience, and you always learn something. If you practice all night long, you're going to learn many things. Learn how to summon up effort and energy, how to overcome different mind states such as boredom, sleepiness. Sometimes you have strong cravings and emotions come up because you're not sleeping. Your mind is in a kind of delicate state. So if you're meditating through the night, you can gain deep samadhi, like the question suggested. But also your mind is a very delicate state, and so it's also very easily to be triggered by something. So sometimes you find people get very angry as they're doing an all-night meditation, because they're going without sleep. Maybe they're tired, hungry. Sometimes people get angry. Sometimes people become desperately obsessed with something while they're meditating through the night because they're so struggling that they just want something to keep them happy, so they can write their first novel as they're meditating through the night. Or they can have a fantasy of what they're going to do for the rest of their life, just imagining, or the story of their life to come, and so on. You can fill your mind with a fantasy all night long and embellish it as much as you want. Many monks can also stay up all night just through the power of anger. Anger is energizing, isn't it? Have you ever noticed if you're falling asleep, not much energy to meditate, sitting there, and then something makes you angry, boom, so all the energy comes up. It's a kind of false energy. It's not coming from mindfulness or rapture or any of the usual supportive conditions for energy and good meditation. It's coming from pure anger. Maybe it can be the desire for revenge, it could be the feeling of injustice, something bad has happened that shouldn't have happened. Sometimes it's mixed with competitiveness. You're angry with someone else, so you're sitting up just thinking about that person, why they make you angry. There are many reasons that anger may arise, but it's very energizing. You can sit up straight. So, these are things you learn when you're doing an all-night meditation. Certainly it's not a matter of always being in samadhi and always being perfectly mindful. That may come through practice or may not. Maybe you still have to just keep working with a lot of patience. But you'll definitely learn things. If you can do it, it's a good practice to try, at least sometimes. And I trust Ajahn Chah's judgment. He suggested it was a good practice to do, encouraged it, so I think that's a sign that maybe it's something you could work towards. In our monastery we have all-night meditations on important days like Vesak, Magha Puja, New Year, first day of the Vasa, great retreat, and so on. So maybe think about that. If you've never tried it in a monastery with a Sangha meditating together, try it. It might be a way to boost your practice.
Thank you, Lombo. Deliverables for this retreat. Two quick questions. It is easier to be mindful during a retreat. Can Lombo advise what for us lay people can do when we go back to our normal mundane life? Question one. Question two is, can Lombo please explain pattern origination? How does mental volition give rise to consciousness? Thank you, Lombo.
It's going to be a long night. First question, mindfulness in daily life. Well, mindfulness in daily life is what you're doing right now, but this is also daily life. What is daily life? You're a human being with a body, a mind. You walk, talk, you go here, you go there, you do things, you practice mindfulness, and you're doing that on a retreat. Right? We still eat, we shower, we go here, we go there. Obviously on the retreat we're doing more sitting and walking, and it's in a protected environment. But you're working with the same raw materials as you are anywhere. When I say raw material, I mean this body, this mind, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, the mind that thinks. That's what you're working with, whether it's daily life or on retreat. On retreat it's more intense. Protected in the sense you've got a lot of time, a lot of encouragement just to do the sitting, walking, bring up mindfulness, observe your own body and mind from moment to moment, using different techniques to bring up mindfulness, and then also contemplating or reflecting. You hear teachings which remind you, point you in the right direction, but you still have to do the practice yourself. When you go home, you don't get so many reminders. You go to work and nobody's talking about mindfulness practice anymore. You're at home, nobody's talking about mindfulness practice or Dhamma. Maybe there's a little bit of that if you're fortunate. Some households do listen to Dhamma, talk about the Dhamma occasionally. But mostly it's more Monday, worldly talk, worldly activity, so very distracting. Not so supportive, so you have to work at it. But the Buddha gave you the step-by-step way for developing your practice in the lay life. So once you have faith in Buddha and the Dhamma, you commit to Buddha Dhamma Sangha as your refuge. That already gives you a very simple way of determining your behavior on a daily basis. Would the Buddha approve of this behavior that I'm doing right now? If you're at home, you have that reflection. If you're having an argument with your spouse, would the Buddha approve of this? Is this part of the Buddha's path to Nibbana, or is this heading to more suffering? I'm being a bit flippant here, but we're developing that kind of awareness in daily life, whether we're on the path for the end of suffering or we're not on it and we're creating more suffering through our actions. Going to work, you have a mind that goes to work, your body takes your mind to work, and then you can observe your attitudes. Are you working with greed, just pure desire to make money, become more powerful, more influential, get more worldly success? Or are you working as a means to support your Dhamma practice? That may be something to reflect on. In your family, maybe other people don't have interest in Dhamma practice, but if you do, how can you keep up your Dhamma practice in the family? It's the 5 precepts to undertake. Chanting, meditation when you can, listening to Dhamma when you can, interacting with the family, maintaining right speech, right action. The precepts and the different factors of the Eightfold Path are there to be developed, even in daily life. Even if no one else is practicing, you can still practice, can't you? You can choose to harm somebody or not through your actions, your speech. The hardest one is probably keeping in touch with your own mind, your different thoughts and moods, because they've come up very quick, they're stimulated very quick, you get distracted. You do your best. And I'd say number 1, having taken refuge in the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, having committed to keeping the 5 precepts in daily life, using them as guidelines, then have a regular daily meditation practice. At least 15 minutes a day, minimum. In the morning, I recommend trying in the morning because that will set you up for the rest of the day. Do some mindfulness practice before you go out to work or go and do your business. Do some mindfulness practice, set your mind with the thought of loving kindness for others, determined to keep the 5 precepts, determined to look after your mind through the day the best you can, and then you go through your day. And of course you'll get distracted, you'll forget, but if you set yourself up in the right way from the beginning of the day, this will keep coming back to you. Your thinking, you'll observe yourself more, you'll be more aware through the day. In situations where your kilesas, your negative emotions are triggered, when you're tempted to fall into anger, greed, confusion, jealousy, worry, you'll be much more aware if you have a regular meditation practice. And of course, listening to Dhamma regularly. We have to listen to remind ourselves of what the Buddha taught, get further explanations, so that your thinking and the way you look at life is being educated by the teachings of the Buddha, rather than all worldly things, just social culture and society around us, which tends to not be coming from Dhamma, it's just coming from greed, anger, and delusion, unfortunately. So it's up to us to bring the Dhamma into our life more and more, commit to the Dhamma, and when you get time, go to monasteries, retreat centres, retreats like this. You do what you can to increase your effort in the practice. Little by little, your experience and your knowledge will grow, for sure, because I can see that in so many people over the years. They can grow in the Dhamma. If they keep practicing, they'll grow. They'll become wiser, more peaceful people. That takes effort, takes practice. You just have to keep going. Second question, to explain why volition conditions consciousness in the teaching on dependent origination. Well, volition means intention. Intentional thought can be good, can be bad. Generally it's good or bad, or skillful, unskillful. But every moment of thought, intentional thought, volitional thought, is karma as long as we're attaching to the sense of self, as long as we're still affected by unawareness, ignorance. There'll be a sense of self attaching to that thought, the good thought, or the bad thought. And this is prompting another thought, another moment of consciousness. So it's a constant, like a motor turning or a wheel turning, constantly churning out moments and moments of consciousness. Probably the first thing you learn in Dhamma practice is that, well, kusala thoughts, wholesome thoughts, skillful thoughts are better than akusala thoughts, because they bring with them a feeling of well-being. They stimulate more wisdom, understanding. They lead on to other moments of consciousness which are more refined. They lead to an improvement in our experience as human beings. Unwholesome moments of consciousness with unwholesome volitions will prompt more unwholesome volitions, and things get worse and worse, don't they? The more that process goes on uninterrupted. So, for example, you're angry, anger arises when you see something or hear something you don't like, see something you don't like, taste something you don't like. It may prompt some aversion. And at that moment, you've got a choice whether you recognize, oh, this is ill will, aversion, this is a cause of suffering. If I hold on to this, there'll be more moments of suffering, more moments of consciousness. Or I'm going to abandon it, let it go here and now, just drop it. That might mean, if it's, in the case when you're arguing with someone, they said something, you didn't like the sound of what they said or their opinion, you argue back. You can continue that argument and you'll suffer more and more. You'll get hotter and hotter, and they'll get hotter and hotter. More moments of consciousness are triggered. Or you might forgive them. I've been speaking too harshly here, I forgive you. I forgive you if they've been speaking harshly, or please forgive me, you apologize, I've been speaking too harshly. and you quickly end it. If you still got a sense of self, or you may have, you'd still be karma made at that point, but we call it good karma. And that's conducive to more understanding, because you become more calm, and you let go of your anger, you forgive, you let go. You'll see with more clarity, you'll see the Dhamma, you'll understand things better. But it's still karma, and it's still creating more moments of consciousness, but for the better. What is the best kind of karma? Well, generally meditation, so what we've been talking about, what we've been practicing. So you put mindfulness on an object, such as the breath. You're creating the conditions to be mindful of the breath, and then mindful of the breath again and again. You get moments of mindful consciousness. Mindfulness is also an intention of mind, but it's a good one, a wholesome one. So it has very quick, good results. Your mind starts to become more stable, more calm, and wisdom and understanding can grow from that calm, stable, peaceful state of mind because you've got mindfulness. So still moments of consciousness are arising when you practice mindfulness, but they tend to be good ones, better ones than you had before. When you're mindful, you're paying attention to your mind, you can say, oh, this angry thought here, let it go. That's wisdom, isn't it? Wisdom says, let it go. End it, because it's suffering. You may say, focus on loving kindness or forgiveness or something that's the opposite, because that will help you to let go of your anger. You're still creating consciousness, but now it's wholesome intentions. There's a different kind of consciousness, it's a different class of consciousness. So you'll find if you keep practicing mindfulness on an object, you'll start to feel better in body and mind, and your whole consciousness is benefiting from that. It's still moment by moment process, step by step process. Ajahn Kalyano said when you practice mindfulness, at first, he said it's just like a drip from a tap, just one drip. There's a gap. You try to be mindful of the breath, and with the breath for a moment, your mind goes away somewhere else. So it's just a drip. If you turn the tap a bit more, the drips increase in speed. That's turning the tap, is like you putting more effort into your meditation. You're trying harder, sitting, walking. So the moments of mindfulness become more continuous. And one moment of mindfulness can be the cause for the next moment, the next and the next, until they all join up and those drips of water become like a stream of water when you fully turn the tap on. If you have a stream of water, you might call that samadhi. Your mind is very continuously mindful, or as I was explaining earlier, for a few minutes or maybe for an hour or two. Mindfulness improves as a stream. And you notice when you have a stream of water, even the water itself is very soft. You can't hold it, it just disintegrates in your hand, but water is not solid. But when you have a stream of water, it actually takes on some power, doesn't it? It has power, so you can spray water to clean some dirt off something with a hose or anything like that. You can use water as a powerful tool to do things and channel it. This is what the Buddha said, you should channel your mind like water, and you can, with the continued mindfulness, your consciousness is becoming purified as a purification process. The opposite of being mindful is being scattered, distracted, worried, angry, whatever. When you're mindful, your consciousness is becoming purified over and over again, so then you can channel it to know things. And the quality of your consciousness, your mind, changes. One quality is you become brighter. Your mind becomes brighter when you're mindful. It's like turning a light on in a dark room. When you turn the light on, you can see what's in the room. You can walk around without tripping over. If we turn the lights off now, we would walk around and we'd trip over each other. Mindfulness is like turning the light on. Now you can see and know your experience very well, because there's this constant quality of knowing. What mindfulness is, you know, you're paying attention. You can direct that to know different things. So the Buddha said, direct it to know the body. First foundation of mindfulness. Know feeling. Second foundation of mindfulness. Know the feeling that's pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. Know the mind itself. How do we know the mind itself? Through the mental states, the thoughts. You know them, meaning you direct mindfulness to know the mind itself. See mind states rising, passing away. Some good, some not good, some very refined, some very coarse. And to know Dhammas, and that Dhammas means basically everything. All phenomena, physical phenomena, we can be mindful of everything, so everything can teach us something. You can be mindful of every aspect of your body, your mind, your mental experience, memories, thoughts, and even consciousness itself. You can know consciousness is not a self, not a person, a being. You could say consciousness itself is just part of nature. So an arahant is still conscious. They know things. They have eyes and ears. They're still alive. They know things through their senses. Sense consciousness arises, but there's no sense of self attaching to that consciousness. You could say consciousness is just consciousness without an owner. There's no sense of ownership. Or you read the sutras of seeing is just seeing, but there's no one seeing. There's no one doing the seeing. Seeing is just seeing, hearing just hearing. For the arahant, they've removed all the ignorance that conditions mental volitions, conditions craving, attachment. The dependent origination is obviously a vast subject to discuss, but in brief, the arahant has removed this sense of self-identity from that process. There's no sense of ownership. Even consciousness is purified of self and attachment. So consciousness is just consciousness. It's just like part of nature. It's like the sky, air, things that we have in nature that nobody owns them. Consciousness is the same for the arahant. The reason we suffer is because we still grasp, even at every moment of consciousness, that this is me. So we go, oh, today I'm really happy, which is good on one level, but on a higher level there'll still be some suffering, because if you're grasping at this happy consciousness, I feel happy, I'm happy, happy me, because it's impermanent, not self, that can condition some suffering. Obviously, when the happy feeling and the happy consciousness changes, then maybe there'll be some sadness. Oh, I'm not as happy as I used to be. Or you may become unhappy, sad, angry, bored, whatever. So consciousness is to be seen as not self, but that you might call that one of the hardest parts of the practice. Not easy, is it? Because consciousness is where is it? You can't see it. You can only know it by directing your mind to know itself. It takes a lot of practice, a lot of effort. But that's what we're doing. And maybe you can sometimes see how consciousness changes with your changing moods, or with mindfulness, and mindfulness is very strong, so you get a lot of insight. Sometimes mindfulness fades away and you don't know anything much. You may remember the words of the Dhamma, but you don't know with your heart because you've lost all your awareness. So we need to keep practicing.
Good evening, Dong Hong. Thank you for the advice. But I still asking this question is because when you use someone close, then sometimes we have an opinion that is right, yes, that she's not right. So when this come on, that we get a lot of argument, and then sometimes, or maybe, just now I recall just now, even sometimes we say that we are doing something right, but because we want to cease the argument, should we say, even we say sorry about that, I'm sorry, or what's the attitude is over some in the dispute that even people keep on attacking you, but what should we have a right attitude? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a very common one in the world, isn't it? Somebody keeps arguing with us. So number one, Buddha said, try to keep your sila, your precepts. Whether it's husband and wife, two workers, two neighbors, two car drivers in the street. Try and keep your sila, keep your cool, speak with mindfulness as much as you can, choose some good words, have a feeling of metta. Even for someone who's bullying you, still try to keep the compassion and metta there. When you have to talk, choose the right time to talk, the right place, the right words. This will help prevent you falling into arguments in the first place. Of course, sometimes our emotions come up really quick, especially when someone challenges us, criticizes us, bullies us, has a different opinion than us. Then the anger comes up and we've been triggered, poked. So you have to be very mindful as much as you can. Maybe have a strategy in place even before it happens. If it happens often and you know it might happen again, ask yourself, what will I do the next time I'm in one of those kind of argument situations? What should I do? So perhaps a good plan is simply, if I see myself getting angry, maybe the best thing is to pause the whole conversation and say, look, I'm not ready to talk about this, I'll talk later. And you move away. That would probably be a good one if you're getting very heated, very angry. Just stop the conversation, move away, and come back to it later when you've calmed down and you've thought about it more. Maybe you come back to that conversation later. If it's someone else who's angry or very emotional, arguing with us, maybe we're still calm, but they keep on at it. Well, try to keep it cool again, choose some careful words that won't provoke them, make them worse. And maybe sometimes we have to agree to disagree. Say, the way I see it is like this, you see it like that. It looks like at the moment we can't meet, we can't agree on this one. So let's just pause, go away and think about it, go away and you do think about it, and see if there's any other angle you can look at this problem from. Because heated arguments don't really bring much benefit, do they? They only bring bad feeling, make us feel annoyed. So that's my suggestion.
I've never heard this question before, but it's something I've been experiencing for quite some time. I can hear Bali chanting at the back of my mind. It can go on for days and days or even for hours. Unfortunately, they are not my favorite chant that I could chant by heart. So when I zoom into this Pali chant, which is the normal chant that I used to hear, of course I cannot follow it because I don't remember. But my question here is, what should I do under such circumstances leave the chant to go on and on by itself, or just block it off?
I would focus, if it's in your meditation, I would focus on your meditation object. If you're doing the breathing meditation, what meditation would you be doing when you hear this chanting?
It doesn't come on when I'm meditating. This chant will happen when I'm doing simple work. It could be a chore at home. Yeah. It's not during my meditation.
Yeah. Well, it's probably a good thing. It's coming from your faith in the Buddha Dhamma Sangha. Like you say, you've given meaning to the chanting, you've heard it before, so it's gone into your memory. And probably you associate that with Dhamma practice, the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, wholesome things, so it's coming up. But if you're doing another task, you're cooking and cleaning and going here, going there, I would just be aware that it's in the background, but I wouldn't focus on the memory that's coming up. But if you want to choose either a word or a phrase or a chant that you like, and consciously, deliberately chant that, quietly yourself while you're doing an activity, that's fine. And it may be a sign that you would be quite successful in using chanting to bring up mindfulness. So a very common one, people use Iti Piso, Bhagawa, Arahant, Samma. If they've learned the words of a chant, it's just an example. So you're going about cleaning your home, you just Piso, Bhagawa, as you do that, just to keep your attention in the present moment on the task that you're doing. Obviously, if it's a complex task, say you have to type something, where you can't focus on chanting, then you have to focus on the screen and what you're doing. But if it's a more mundane task, repetitive task, maybe you can chant as you're doing it. That's okay. It's a way to keep mindful. But you're doing it deliberately, you're not just sort of listening to some voice in the back of your head, you're actually consciously chanting. The voice in the back of the head is more like just a wholesome memory coming up to remind you of the Dhamma, to remind you of the practice, which is good, but you don't need to put attention on the memory, but more on being mindful in the present moment, what you're doing now, and maybe using chanting, deliberate chant for that.
Any more? We'll go to the written questions. 2 questions from Sister Cheryl. Dear Ajahn, craving is a big hindrance for my meditation. Sometimes the mind and the body become tense. Other times when the mind is relaxed, impatience arises for not experiencing piti and sukha. Please kindly advise how I may proceed with my practice. Question 2. Is the recitation of Metta, Karuna, Mudita, Upekkha appropriate as a meditation object? Thank you, Ajahn.
This is a common problem. We hear a lot of Dhamma from good teachers. We've read, we've heard, so we've heard the whole practice from A to Z, start to finish. And the teachers are probably more experienced and skilled than us, so they talk about samadhi, states of samadhi, explain the mind that is peaceful, what it's like, how to attain it. So of course, as we're practicing, we're starting from a beginning point, and we may sometimes experience some success and peace in our mind, piti and sukha may arise, but then there'll be a lot of times when it doesn't. And what we tend to do is feel like we must be doing something wrong or failure. Particularly nowadays, because our society, modern society, is so competitive and so results orientated. You go for a job interview and you're competing with 500 other people. you are at school and everybody is being ranked according to who does their exams best. Everything is a competition. Even you go on a dating app and they start rating you. I assume I've never been on a dating app. Everything, you're getting rated and compared on everything. So of course that will bring that kind of mentality to meditation as well. Oh, that guy seems to have been really peaceful. They're talking about their experience in meditation. Why haven't I got that? So one thing is try not to be too focused on other people. If you hear something useful in someone else's experience, good. But a lot of people talk too much about their meditation. You notice the people who genuinely get on in their meditation don't talk so much. They tend to be quieter and just doing their practice. You might want to develop that attitude more, to be just focused on creating the causes for the peaceful mind, going back to the mindfulness, keeping the precepts, the mindfulness, regular meditation in whatever way you can. This is like nourishing the roots, watering the roots of the plant, rather than sitting there watching and telling the plant, grow faster, when you're going to grow up, telling the tree to grow up. We all get impatient for results, but that impatience is an obstacle in itself, isn't it? You have to go back to the beginning. Just keep nourishing the roots through the meditation. But you can also learn for yourself what brings up joy in the practice, what supports that. Some people really love listening to Dhamma, and that can help. Some people like chanting. Some people, when they meditate, there's certain reflections that really help them. So maybe the reflection on the dana they've given, or reflection on the Buddha, the qualities, the compassion, the peace, the wisdom of the Buddha, or a particular teacher. Recollecting the teacher brings up a lot of joy, helps uplift the mind. So of course, piti and sukha, these means qualities of joy, radiance of mind, rapture. They are uplifting. They can even be a little bit addictive, because it's almost like a hit, a rush. Get my piti rush, like having my cup of coffee in the morning, good to go. If the coffee shop is shut, then if I don't get my piti and sukha rush, my meditation is no good. We have to watch out for that. It's the same thing. Just because you don't have piti and sukha doesn't mean to say your effort in meditation is not worthwhile, it's not good. It's still good, you can still learn. Maybe you can learn from that time when you don't have much rapture and joy. You learn how to summon up effort when you're not feeling very peaceful, not feeling very radiant. Can you keep going with your practice? Like when you're ill or run down, can you keep mindfulness going? Many practitioners find that when they are a little bit ill, have an injury, have some painful feelings in the body, they keep the meditation going, the mindfulness practice going. They often gain a lot from that experience, gain more patience. They gain some insight into the impermanent nature of their body and whatever conditions they're feeling. That can be a time when they really learn something and gain something. Or when you're feeling really depressed, something didn't go well in your day, usually we say, I can't meditate, I'm too depressed. Try not to give in and say, this is the very time I should meditate. Bring up the mindfulness and know what it's like. When I feel depressed, what is depression? This feeling, is it physical? Is it mental? There's certain thoughts associated with when I feel depressed, sad. There'll be certain thoughts, certain feelings. See if you can bring up some mindfulness in the middle of that. Then you might find depression doesn't come up so strongly or so often in the future. So don't get too addicted to always having to have piti and sukha in your practice. If it comes, good. But also learn how to be mindful of whatever's going on in your mind, however you feel, whatever the state of mind is. And what was the second question? Yeah, any aspect of the Dhamma can become a meditation object, whether it's a word, it could just be the word metta, or you might expand it to a phrase that you create yourself, one that you like yourself. So it could be in Pali, like Sabbe Sattha Sukhita Hontu, Sabbe Sattha Avira Hontu, they all mean to be well, free from suffering, free from enmity. You may recite it in English, you may recite it in Pali. So recitation of something that has meaning for you. You choose what you recite, whether it's one word or a phrase or a whole chant. Tonight we chanted the Metta Sutta in English. Some people find that very helpful. So many good teachings and reminders in that. So just chanting that to yourself can really calm your mind, cut through a lot of distraction, a lot of different moods. Or some people prefer in Pali. As I said, some people just prefer just one word over and over again. So you can use metta or karuna or mudita or upekkha. Some people have a more intellectual approach, and that's alright. They want to think it through, understand these terms. What does metta mean? What does karuna mean? How do I practice metta? So you're doing it as a discursive exercise. How to bring up metta when you're facing a difficult situation, how to have metta when you're tired, how to have metta when you're ill, how to have metta when you're being bullied, how to have metta when somebody's hurt your feelings, let you down. You think it through first. How can I maintain this kind of object of mind, or this kind of mental state, wholesome mental state? How can I bring it up? So sometimes we think it through, and then it becomes also a theme that we use in daily life. So we have the meditation on metta. That's, if you reduce it down, it's not just a word, it's also a feeling. You feel metta, don't you? You feel love, unconditional love, meaning just this unconditional goodwill. It's a feeling, maybe in the heart region. So if someone else shows you unconditional love, often you feel it from them. You feel a wave of good energy. It's powerful when you seem to fill your whole body. Maybe something very tangible, very kind of strong feeling from that person. So what about you? Can you bring up a feeling of metta? You might start in your heart, and you expand it out all over your body. Feel your whole body bathed like an internal bathing bath. Feel your whole body with metta. And it refreshes you. Say when you're tired or ill or depressed, you bring up the metta, it can completely change your state of mind. It can drive out the negativity, it can bring out something more wholesome. Some people even have success when they are ill or they have pain in their legs when they're meditating. Bring up the metta, that helps them to tolerate the pain, tolerate bad memories. So you can have metta towards some traumatic memory that keeps coming up, so bring up the metta for yourself, for some other person involved. You can have metta for a barking dog that's been really scary. Metta for monkeys that jump up and down all through the meditation, doing their best to destroy the atmosphere of the meditation. Oh, you're a monkey. Metta. Oh, monkey, yes, may you be well. Just imagine if your metta reaches the monkeys, they'll probably all calm down. So if they're still bouncing around, it just means you haven't got enough metta. So there's different approaches to metta. There's the intellectual, thinking it through. There's the metta as an object of meditation, feeling the word. There's metta in daily life, speech, actions. There's a whole array of practices associated with metta, and the same for karuna, mudita, upekkha. There's a lot more to it than I can say here, but maybe look into that and see what works for you. The important thing is what works for you. Some people they say, "Oh, I can't have any metta for myself. I'm not a good person." So if that's your starting point, okay, maybe it's easier to have metta for someone else first. You think of someone who you can have metta for, a loved one, parent or a granny or your best friend or somebody who's helped you. You develop metta for them first because it's easier. Then you get the idea what it feels like to have goodwill for another person. Then you come back secondly to yourself and see if you can bring up that. What metta does is it starts to bring this sense of we're all the same. Every single human living being wants to be peaceful, have a sense of well-being, good health, happy, successful. Everyone wants that. Of course, everyone has different ways of achieving it, and they have different views, and we often clash, but every human being wants metta, every human being wants love, wants to have a feeling of well-being. So that's something we have in common with everyone. Even your worst enemy still wants that. So that starting point helps you to maybe even your thinking towards others, helps you to reduce a bit of your bias in your mind, your anger, bring out the metta. If you can't have it in your own heart yet, you've got to work on that until you do. You can't really have strong metta for anyone else until you've got to hear first. It doesn't work. But you may begin having metta for others and then come back to yourself. If you really hate yourself, and some people do, okay, work with those you love easily, and then bring it in until it's even. You and the others are the same. That's your goal.